A very worrying development from South Yorkshire. Mark White is here in the studio. Mark, tell us.
Well, this is an incident in which objects from a construction site were thrown at the Reform leader Nigel Farage in Barnsley town centre. We've got some video of that we can... I don't think we have some video at the moment, but we will have that soon. It basically shows someone who's wearing a red hoodie at this kind of construction site at the side of a road. Nigel is on a battle bus, a Reform battle bus, going through Barnsley town centre, and a number of objects are thrown towards him. Now, I spoke to Nigel briefly just to ask him. I think we've got the video now. You can see the video there. That's Nigel on the bus just as these objects. There you see, I think that was a coffee cup initially, and there the suspect is running off down the street and is tackled by the police. South Yorkshire police have confirmed that a 28-year-old man has now been arrested on suspicion of a public order related offence, is currently in police custody. As I say, I spoke to Nigel briefly to ask him if he knew what was thrown at him. He said cement, but he also thinks stones and a coffee cup thrown towards him as well. So clearly it's potentially serious, any of these items, especially if it's a harder item thrown from a construction site towards you. It could potentially cause you harm. So Nigel has issued a brief statement saying, "I will not be bullied or cowed by a violent left-wing mob who hate our country," is what he said. And he also thanked South Yorkshire Police for very quickly detaining the suspect, a 28-year-old man now in custody.
It must be said it's heartening to see such rapid response from South Yorkshire Police. Perhaps other police forces around the country could learn from how effective they were there. But Mark, this is of course not an isolated incident. It's becoming part of a pattern.
Well, it is, and it's part of a worrying pattern of incidents in which politicians generally are being targeted, and some of the attacks much more violent than the last. As far as Nigel is concerned, it's only a week since he had a milkshake thrown over him in Essex, and people at the time were thinking, a milkshake, but you don't know. If you're someone who has a liquid thrown over you, in this day and age when acid is quite often used in attacks, what that liquid is, it's thrown over you. So just in that sense, apart from the fact it's horrible to have anything thrown over you, you know, it can be clearly very worrying and alarming for anybody who's at the centre of that attack. And let's remember that this follows a number of violent incidents in Europe, where we had the Slovakian Prime Minister who was shot and seriously injured just last month. A few days later, separate incidents in Germany when other politicians at an anti-Islamist rally were attacked, a policeman killed in one of those incidents, and then another politician a few days later in Germany attacked as well. So some real concern, and some concern for the authorities here as we get right into the cut and thrust of this election campaign, when politicians are at their most vulnerable. That's when they are out and about in the campaign trail, coming face to face with the electorate, and there is always a scope for those that react badly to an individual politician's beliefs, enacting that in a violent way. So very concerning incident, this.
And he said after the milkshaking incident, he told a journalist, he gave his reasons why he thinks this happens to him, and he said it's because he's out and about with the public, very close to the public, and this sort of things happens when you are out and about. And so I guess the intention of these kind of incidents is to make him fearful of doing such things as this.
Well, very much so. I mean, he certainly is out and about with the public. He wants to be up close and personal to members of the public. But he's not the only politician that does that. I mean, especially local MPs. They're all out meeting their constituents at this particular time, building up to an election. So it is a particularly concerning and worrying period for those who are charged with ensuring that our politicians are kept safe from those that might want to cause them harm.
And yet policing this sort of incident is so very hard because, as we saw there, that was a lone wolf, a man in a crowd, acting alone by what we can see there. And obviously there were lots of people who were shocked and stunned, and some construction workers who tried to pin him to the floor. But how on earth can you police things like this when it's just a singular person with some rubble?
No, I mean, you can have a police presence and a security presence there, but if someone wants to act in the spur of the moment, it's very difficult to do anything other than react after the event and ensure that, you know, as much as you can, you try to protect someone from an attack and ensure that a suspect is arrested. But yeah, when you're in a public area and you're inviting members of the public to come forward to meet you as you want to present them with your political campaign, how can you guard against it? And that is the very difficult process that the police and security officials have to go through, as they have to try to look out for the known threats, but it's the unknown threats, you know, people that they don't know that are acting on the spur of the moment, that are often the most potentially dangerous individuals, depending what they decide to do.
Yes, and people could act as though they're supporters and then commit an incident like this. Thank you very much indeed, Mark White. We'll bring you any more updates.